Hey there, happy Friday. It's Kathy with Be Creative with Kathy, and today is November 20th of 2020. And I have a really pretty card for you today. So this is a card that I got in the mail. It's my birthday in a couple days here, and Dorothy was thoughtful enough to send me a birthday card. And when I saw this birthday card, I'm like, perfect. I have class this weekend, and it's a poinsettia class, and I always like to send a thank you card with my kits. And so now I'm going to make these thank you cards to put into my kits. Well, I'm going to turn this one into a thank you card, because in the poinsettia it says right here, thank you for making this a wonderful season. And I'll tell you, as I read that, I'm a softball coach, and I thought I'm going to keep track of this for my next softball season as I send out my thank yous, because that would be not only Christmas season, that could be thank you for a wonderful softball season. So anyway, there you go. That's a little tidbit about me. I was kind of excited to find a stamp set that says thank you for this wonderful season, because I can use it multiple times. The other cool thing about this card is this designer series paper again is from the Flower for Every Season 6x6 pack of paper. So see, it's this one here. The other side looks like this, but this would be a really pretty, it's going to be a really pretty, well in my case, thank you card, but it could also be a Christmas card, because you've seen me make this one. That's the same designer series paper pack, and I made this one into a Christmas card. And then part of my class tomorrow is this one with this Christmas paper, also in the same pack of paper. This pack of paper, and now this one. So don't count your everyday flowers for Christmas cards, or don't count it out. I don't know, I think it's a great idea when you have something in your house that you can just use for multiple things. As in, like, that's why I was excited to see that stamp that says thank you for making this a wonderful season. But let's start by just cutting the designer series paper. So I want to take my 6x6 here, and turn my trimmer over. Nope, it was right the first time. Good morning. But I want to trim this down, and I'm going to make sure, because I think the pattern goes this way. But I'm going to trim this down to 3 3/4. Saving this piece, because we'll decorate our envelope later, by 5. There, now we don't need this scrap. This scrap would be nothing. Okay, now we have our designer series paper, and I've cut the other pieces. I have just a piece of Whisper White. This is the thick. I like to use the thick for the card bases. Let's go ahead and fold that, because when I give my card as a thank you, I don't write in it or put anything in it, so that way they can put what they like on the inside, and they'll have the stamp set. They can do whatever they want. This is a piece of Just Jade. It's 5 by 4 1/4. And this will layer, well, let's go ahead and layer that on there. There's no reason not to. Let me find my seal. Get it going here. There we go. And layer these on. I don't remember what I was saying. Got distracted with my seal. Okay, this lays right on here. And look how pretty those layers are. And then we'll just lay this right here. Make sure I get it right side up. Okay, on this piece here. So there we go. There's our card base already. We'll set that aside, and let's work on some of the embellishments on the card. So we're going to use, of course, like I said, the Poinsettia Petals stamp set and the dies. And let me tell you, I have a confession. Oh, and we're going to use the Stitch So Sweetly. We'll need those dies too. But I actually bought 2 sets of the dies, because I knew I was going to use this in a bunch of my classes and clubs, and I was going to have to cut out a bunch. But I want to show you what I did with one of my set of dies. So I took, because if you've played with this stamp set, you know that you can take the outline die with the inside, and watch, I'm not going to be able to get it. And I had marks on there that would tell me where it went, but they rubbed off. So usually they go like this, and then this one cuts it out, and this one embosses the inside. So what I did was I laid those down, I took some washi tape and held those in place where I wanted them. And then I took some, is it called press and seal? Saran wrap. I don't know, cling something. And I laid that over the top. And now when I need a bunch of little poinsettias, I can just lay that on my paper. I know they're lined up perfect. Now you can see at first the press and seal stuck to my cardstock, but now it's not sticky at all. But boy, it sticks and holds those dies in place. So if you're gonna make a bunch of poinsettia cards, like say for instance on this flower, see how it has that embossing on there? There you can see it pretty good. I just took this, laid this on a quarter piece of cardstock and run it through your die cut machine. It's just a tip that helps you keep those. And then you can totally remove these later. It's not like they're stuck down forever. But I'm going to hang on to them that way until I'm done with all my Christmas cards. I just wanted to show you what I did. So we're going to use this one for today because we're not going to emboss. We're going to stamp instead. Maybe that was too much information. I just thought it was a really helpful tip, and I was kind of proud of myself that I came up with that. So I'm going to take, I have a scrap here of Whisper White, and to be honest with you, I don't know what size it is. I got it kind of big. Whoops, I just lost my plate here. But I'm going to put this, now I have my Stamparatus here, and I have the base plate, and then that foam mat that comes with it, and then I have a grid paper. And if you watch my YouTube channel or videos or whatever, you know that I like to put, it's called Sizzix sticky grid paper, and I like to put a piece there because then, how come I can't seem to get organized here? Because then your paper, when you lay your paper down, look, it sticks to that and doesn't come off. So now on my grid paper, I have a little marking here, and this is just so I know where to lay my paper, but my paper's a little bigger, so I'm gonna put it over here. But that way, if it moves, I know that I want to put it into this corner, one of my markings. And you can see I use my grid paper over and over and over again, but information. Okay, so now, because I want to stamp on white paper with Versamark, which is a clear ink, and then emboss it with white embossing powder, that's why I'm going to use the Stamparatus. That way I know that I'm not going to stamp an image on top of another image, because sometimes with that Versamark you can't see where you stamped your first image. But I have here the middle poinsettia. I'm going to say the middle poinsettia leaves because this is just part of it. And look, I put that upside down. I'm going to put it this way. There we go. And then the large. I'm going to just use those two on my card today. So I have those set. I'm going to lay down my plate here. Let me get my bone folder because I don't want my paper to move. If it moves a little bit this time, it doesn't matter because I'm just setting them. I'm not positioning them or having them perfect set on there. But I can't seem to get my plate where I want it. But let's go. I keep moving around in circles and put this back on there because everything moved because the photopolymer are sticky. Okay, now with some Versamark ink. Can you see those here? What if I put my stamp set under? There. I'm going to take my Versamark though and ink my flowers up really good. Versamark is a really sticky ink, so I don't think I'll be able to stamp them down and lift my plate and stamp them down because I think it's going to stick to my cardstock, so I'm going to make sure I get them inked up and ready to go the first time. Okay, lay that down. Hit all those little tips and corners, make sure they're all pressed solid. Not too bad. I don't want to smush the rubber on the stamp. I just want to make sure that I get a solid image on my paper. Pull that up. And now I don't know if you can see it or not, but I've stamped my images on my paper. Now normally I would tell you just take this and go run it under some clear water in the sink, but since this is sticky ink, I've taken an old wood block. Remember when our stamps were mounted on this? I cut up a Stampin' Scrubber, and I'm gonna just take a little bit of Stampin' Mist, spray it on my little scrubber here, and scrub. Now you could also just take your chamois and wipe that off of there. I like to scrub them. Maybe it's because I use them so much, but then after I get them scrubbed good, I am going to take my chamois here that I've cut down, that I just keep in a little plastic bag in case I'm on the road, or if I need a, well, like this, you just need a little corner. Makes it a little bit easier. Clean up my stamps, and then there you go. Now they're good as to go. They're all clean, and I could put them away. I'll do that later. Let's go on to the cards. So I have my embossing powder here. Now this is just Whisper White. I don't even know what though. It's white embossing powder. It probably has a fancier name. I don't know what it is. I can't seem to remember. But I just keep it in the container like this. Dip my cardstock in there and get all that embossing powder stuck to my paper. One good flick on the back. Now you notice I didn't use my embossing buddy. I didn't use anything to get rid of the static, because the white on white, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to get my heat tool, and you have to bear with me. Embossing powder, I believe, is just shaved plastic, and now that it's stuck to the card, now we're just going to melt it back onto the card. So when you see it turn from that powder back to like a plastic kind of, or a shiny kind of, you'll know that it's all melted onto your card and it won't come off. And boy, with the Whisper White, you can see the difference really easy. Sometimes with the black embossing powder, it's not as easy to see. But I'm just going to go around and melt that embossing powder onto my paper. My handy dandy tool. And make sure I get all the corners and the tips and the... Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Can you see the white? Maybe a little bit on there? Okay. So now I'm going to bring in Mint Macaron ink and my blender pen. And now the video, the lady that showed this card, because Dorothy shared with me the link where she got the idea for the card, and I can't remember her first name, but her last name was, I believe, Dalkey. I don't know. I don't know how to share her link on my Facebook Live here, but I will share her link on my YouTube. So if you click over to the link to go to my YouTube channel, I'll have her link shared there. She used a dauber, but Dorothy told me she used a blender pen. So I'm going to use a blender pen just like Dorothy did. And I'm going to just, like I said, I picked up some ink, on my block here. And I'm picking up some ink. I like to kind of turn my blender pen as I pick up the ink, and that way I know it's on all the sides. And then I'm going to start in the middle here and then kind of just work my way out on the veins. I think those are called veins. Are they veins of a leaf? I don't know. I'm calling them veins. And then just fill that in. And boy, there we go. I didn't have much ink on that part of my blender pen. And color in those little petals, picking up ink. Now, because I'm using just plain Whisper White paper, I'm not going to stay in one spot and really get it wet, because it'll mess up the paper. It will get it too wet, and then it starts to peel, and it's just not a pretty sight. So I'm going to go pretty quickly and get all of my little poinsettia leaves here colored. And the first time around, I'm going to just go quick and try to get color on there. And then the second time, I'll go back and just make sure I have all the leaf colored in and enough color on there till I'm happy. So let's go. I'm going to go to this one because I have a lot of ink on my brush here. Okay, now I have them all colored in, but some of them are a little lighter than what I like, so I'm going to go back and then make sure I get the edges right by the emboss powder. Make sure this one seems a little light, get him a little bit darker. This one too has some splotchy spots. There we go. And maybe a little bit more on this one. Oh, and I missed the whole edge over here. But see how it's starting to come together? And then of course, I would do the same thing on the big one. Then for your blender pen, now that it has ink on it, right, I'm gonna go ahead and as I clean it, I'm just gonna scribble back and forth and turn it to make sure I get all the color off of that blender pen. On the sides too. And then when all that ink is off, it's like a brand new blender pen. It might be stained, but next time you use it, see, now it won't leave ink. Make sure I get it all off there. Yeah, so I have no more ink on my blender pen. And that's how the blender pen works. Those are great when you want to watercolor. Okay, so then I have already done a large poinsettia here, but now we need to cut this one out. So let's bring in our die cut machine. Oh, and the block, now the block has ink on it. I would just take this and run it under the sink in some clear water, but for now, since my sink's not here, I'm going to just wipe it clean with my chamois. And now even if the ink dried, it would still come off your block. It wouldn't stain your block at all. The only time that's not true is if you're going to use StazOn, so I wouldn't use StazOn like that because then it will stain your block. Okay, let's bring in the die cut and emboss machine, or better known as the boss. I'm going to bring in plate number 1, nope, platform number 1, plate number 2, and then the cutting pad, the clear cutting pad number 3, and I want to put it this way. Okay, and I'm going to use a little bit of washi tape just to hold my framelit in place. So I'm going to flip him here. Like I said, I put a mark on there so that I would know which way goes with which. Not that one, but it has worn off. So I'm going to have to try to do something different. When I come up with a tip like that, I'll let you know. But he looks good right there. So just a little bit of washi tape to hold him on there. And then at this other end, I'm going to use the smallest of my, these are the, well, I'm coming up with a lot. They're stitched so sweetly, but the smallest of the scalloped rectangle dies. And then I need another cutting pad on top. See, and normally I would color and cut that other flower out too, but I'll do that later since I've already got one made and you don't want to watch the color everything. Okay, cut those out. And look, I got really close here. We'll see if I have to run that back through again. Nope, it looks like it cut. Okay, before I put my die cut machine away though, I want to cut out a couple more things. So here I have a scrap of silver. This is silver foil paper, and I want to cut out those little, someone called it baby breath, so maybe that's what that is a branch, the baby breath, stay put branch, and then a little bit bigger silver frame here, and I'm going to cut out that little leaf, the smaller, there's 2 leaves in this set, and I'm going to cut out the smaller one. Let's see if I got that right. Yep, and it looks to be, now I messed with it, where I want it on there. And that this little piece, this piece here embosses the paper, and watch when I take it off, it's just beautiful. Okay, let's find our clear cutting pad. I'm almost out of the camera, but I think you can see. And you can see it's even not perfect in there, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be embossed and it'll look good, I promise. Okay, so we're going to put our clear cutting pad away, throw our leaf away, not away, just back into the container. And get that, this is trash, have my leaf. This is stuff I put away the boss. let me clean up a little bit so I have room to work. Take your pick tool and get that baby's breath. Do you think that's baby's breath? You'll have to let me know what this is. I have no plant skills whatsoever. The only plant skill I have is at turning them brown. There we go. Look how pretty that little piece is. And can you see the embossing on the leaf? You gotta love these dies. Okay, put those away. Now I think we have all of our pieces. We need this white piece here and our poinsettia leaf here. Put this. Okay, so let's start putting our card together. Bring our card base back in. Oh, I guess we need to do a little bit of stamping. Let's go ahead. I'm going to bring in my Pierce mat and that Mint Macaron ink again and ink up my thank you sentiment. And since it's photopolymer, it's easy. I have to practice once. You know how I am. I got to make sure that I'm happy. Yep, okay. Always have to practice once on a piece of scratch paper. And then I'm going to just lay that right there in the center of my scalloped rectangle. And looky there how pretty that turned out. Okay. Darn, I got a little tickle in my throat. Okay, so I'm going to just take some seal on the back of that little white piece and layer it on the pretty silver one. And that is just because that's what Dorothy did. And it was a beautiful, here, let me bring that card back in so you can see what we're making. How pretty is that? Some dimensionals on the back of that. And then to assemble our flower, I'm going to use glue dots and my take a pick tool so I can see where they're going to be. So I'm going to take, there we go, and put it right here, and then use that little paper from the dimensionals to get it to stick onto my flower. Because sometimes with embossing powder and dimensionals, glue dots, they just don't cooperate. And then lay this flower on top of this one, and then some dimensionals on the back of this one. It looks like I'm almost out of dimensionals on this sheet, but it doesn't matter. I think 2 is going to be perfect. Okay, so take the backs off of those and lay that here. Pretty. And then the backs of these off of here. And then lay my flower so my words show just barely under. In fact, I think I'm going to put a little bit more. There we go. Now with the glue dot again, and this time I'm just going to press the glue dot on this. It's got like a little bridge right here. If you can see, that's a perfect place for a glue dot. So I'm going to put my glue dot there. And then I'm going to lay another glue dot down here at this stem, just to keep it secure on my card. And then tuck that under my flower here. And now you can't see that little bridge because it's under my petal. And then another little glue dot or 2 on my leaf. I didn't use my paper. There we go. There we go. And tuck that under here. And look how pretty that card is. Now, on Dorothy's card, she used this little bling here. I don't have that bling, but what I do have is this bling. And doggone it, I was going to look up the name, but I forgot. But it's the frosted and the clear drops, gems, enamel. I don't know what they're called, but they're in the big catalog. And look how pretty that looks in the center of my card. Now, finally, I talked to Dorothy, and when Dorothy told me all she had done, she said, darn it, I should have added some bling to my card. And I thought, that's a great idea, Dorothy. So I have my Wink of Stella here, and I'm going to just color those petals with a little bit of Wink of Stella and give it a really pretty shimmer on that petal. And if you want to be perfect, you might have done this before I put the poinsettia together, but yeah, it works out just fine this way. Just a little bit of sparkle on there. Now I'll share something with you. When, and I discovered this by accident, if you have, and I think I'm going to use, no, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. So this one has the, see, it's got like the frosted on there, because these are the clear. And if you want more clear, your Winka Stella takes that frost right off of there. So looky there, now it's clear. I discovered that one by mistake. So if you want the frost on there, make sure your Winka Stella does not touch that gem in the center. If you need more clear ones and you don't want any frosted, use your Winka Stella. It'll take it off in a heartbeat. All right, so like I said, I'll put the link to the lady's name that made the card that Dorothy followed on my YouTube channel. So you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Be Creative with Kathy. If you want the measurements for the card, you can visit my blog, becreativewithkathy.com. If you want any of the products, oh, and I should tell you too that the Designer Series paper, Stampin' Up! Is having a sale November 24th, which is this Tuesday, for one day only, and nearly everything in the large catalog. So you could get the gems, you could get the Designer Series paper, but almost the entire catalog is 10% off. And that is Tuesday, November 24th. But anyway, you can shop on my online store, kathyhouse.stampinup.net. If you ever have any questions, be sure and reach out. And if you want to see the video again, you can always go to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you back here Monday about 1:30. Bye-bye.